6 months ago, Jolani, or Ahmad al-Sharaa, the new president of Syria, had a $10 million bounty on his head. Now he's laughing with President Macron in France and shaking hands with Trump in Riyadh. Because apparently terrorists are okay as long as they're useful to the West. And that's something Jolani himself has said.
تصنيف أمريكا لكل المنظمات والدول هو تصنيف لمن يخرج عن إرادة الإرادة الدولية وإرادة النظام الدولي والإرادة الأمريكية.
But Jolani has apparently done a good job selling out to the American agenda, because this week, President Trump announced that the US would lift its sanctions on Syria.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
The sanctions had been in place for over a decade, imposed on the Assad regime for suppression of dissent and human rights violations. I don't think sanctions work, as they almost invariably hurt the average civilian, while leaving the regimes they're meant to target unscathed. Assad was undeniably brutal, but we've seen Jolani's style of governance. In Idlib, where Jolani's former al-Qaeda affiliate ruled for years, civilians were publicly executed for alleged crimes such as blasphemy and adultery. Detainees were tortured in secret prisons, and journalists who dared to report on the group's abuses were arrested. And even if we foolishly accepted Jolani's claims that he's changed, and his days of founding an al-Qaeda affiliate were youthful folly, the wave of violence against minorities throughout Syria since he seized power shows otherwise. In recent weeks, armed groups linked to Jolani's government slaughtered dozens of Druze in southern Syria. There were also protests against the Druze and the Alawites. Note the ISIS flags. In March, thousands of Alawites on the Syrian coast, in Homs and in Hama, were massacred. The militants responsible filmed their crimes. The government claims that now, these areas are safe and stable. But the violence against minorities hasn't stopped. The militants just stopped recording it. We spoke to Alawites who were forced to flee their homes.
أول ما إنه حطوا حواجز مؤقتة أو بعدين في حواجز ثبتوها. يعني صاروا يستفزوا الناس وهن عم يصوروا عم يسألوا. بجوز مجرد ما يطلع على الهوية يعرف إنه هذا الإنسان فرضاً علوي أو من أي طائفة ثانية. أنت علوي تقول لهم إيه؟ يجبروا الناس أحياناً تعود. بلد عندنا بالمنطقة اللي أنا قاعد فيها بدي أجيب غرض لبيتي أو شيء. إذا مارقين هيك مرور الكرام 10 سيارات كلهم ملتمين كلهم تكون كبيرة أغلبهم جنسيات غير سورية. يعني إذا مارقين هيك بدهم يضربوا رصاص بالجو خوفوا العالم. ما عندهم أي مشكلة. ضيعة ما فيني أطلع. يعني حتى إذا صار لي شغل ما بسترجي أطلع.
إجوا ولد وين أبوه؟ طفل. قال لهم بالنهر. نزلت مجموعة على النهر وبلشوا إطلاق النارات على النهر. صوب شاب عنه ركضنا عليه سعفناه سحبناه للشاب لمسافة انه بعيدة شوي عن يعني تقريبا 700-800 متر تحت وصلنا على الزفت انه نسعفه. كان الشاب مفارق الحياة. هذا الشاب من عنا مضيعة. إحدى النساء كان في حلق بإذنها ذهب مسكوه وسحبوه إذنها ضربوه ولا إذنها سحبوا الحلق من إذنها.
In Hama especially, there have been reports of entire villages being seized by the government.
في المبطن، في مراود، هاي المنطقة كلها أولى على البيوت تماماً. وحتى في ضيعة سكنوا فيها من الرقة.
And while Alawite homes are being seized, the Syrian government claims it's investigating the March massacres, which means it's investigating itself.
أنا بعتبره كله ضحك على اللي حبت ما بنقول بالعامية، لأن وقت بدهم يوثقوا هيك شيء ما بدها هالوقت كله. مجازر وجثث بالأرض وضيعة محروقة ومبينة. تحقيق ما بده هالوقت.
مستمرة من يوم السقوط حتى الآن.
Lifting sanctions on Syria amid horrific sectarian violence against Druze, Alawites, Christians, and other minorities feels like rewarding mass murder. And it allows Jolani, who became president by force rather than by election, to further embed himself as ruler. So why exactly did the US lift sanctions on Syria? Trump says his good friend, Turkish President Erdogan, asked him to. It's not hard to see why Turkey would want the sanctions lifted. Turkish companies stand to profit enormously. And Turkey has already embedded itself deeply in Syria's infrastructure, providing electricity to northern Syria and managing water facilities and telecom networks in the areas they still de facto occupy like Afrin. Turkey gets to paint itself as a diplomatic bridge builder instead of what it really is, a profoundly destabilizing force in northeastern Syria, targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure across SDF-controlled territories. Obviously, Turkish interests weren't the driving factors in the decision to lift sanctions. Syria may have offered to join the Abraham Accords and normalize relations with Israel, something the White House confirmed it has encouraged.
It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords.
And Trump's decision to lift sanctions fits his repeated wish to disengage from Syria. He's always said, it's not our fight.
But I don't want to be in Syria forever.
and made his opinions on Syria as a country known.
It's sand, and it's death.
But this, coupled with the imminent withdrawal of US military from Syria, essentially hands Syria to Turkey, the Gulf, and Israel. This leaves the SDF, America's ally in the fight against ISIS for more than a decade, in a vulnerable position. The Jolani government signed an agreement with the SDF at the urging of the Americans. But what good is the deal if there's no mechanism of enforcement? And if the Americans aren't there providing oversight, the main state actor interfering in Syria is Turkey, which has attacked the SDF for years and continues to call for its dissolution. According to Secretary of State Rubio, the Jolani government wants to expel foreign fighters from Syria.
They've expressed an interest in driving out foreign fighters and terrorists and others that would destabilize the country and are enemies of this transitional authority, and they've asked for our help. And so we're going to try to help them.
But Jolani has consistently praised HTS's foreign fighters. He even promoted some to senior positions in Syria's armed forces. So it's safe to assume Jolani's target are the foreigners within the SDF, which means the US could potentially help weaken the SDF before completely washing its hands of Syria.
They've got a lot of sand over there, so there's a lot of sand that they can play with.
And again, the lifting of sanctions and Jolani's profile boost through meetings with Western leaders is happening while his armed forces wage sectarian violence throughout Syria. If the lifting of sanctions improves the life of the average Syrian, that's great. But it's absurd to pretend that their imposition on the Assad regime in the first place were because America cared about human rights.